Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, casting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we are diving into the unsolved mystery and the disappearance of Alexis Patterson. Now, this is out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Took place May 3rd, 2002. She was last seen around 7:40 a.m. She was walked to school, which is literally right across the street from our home, less than a block away. Her stepdad, LaRon Burgess, walked her to school. And once they got there, he turned around and went home. And from my understanding, no teachers, no students, none of her friends seen her that day. So she never made it to school whatsoever. And there's been a lot of different theories kind of circulating. But lead investigators, they seem to think that it's involving drugs. The stepfather, LaRon, was a convicted drug dealer. Word on the street is he was a drug dealer and a heavy user. And anybody from the streets knows that you don't get high on your own supply. That'll cause major issues. And from my understanding that it did, there's also been some connections to Israel Keys. He had one of his infamous kill kits there near Milwaukee and apparently was there around that time. But since her disappearance in 2002, there's been inmates, there's been people who have claimed to have been there when her body was dumped, are telling investigators that because her stepfather stole a large amount of cocaine from a local drug dealer, that Alexis was kidnapped and held for ransom, apparently giving her stepfather, LaRon, about a 5-day grace period to come up with the money. And when he didn't, she was murdered and dumped near a local high school about 8 miles from where she was taken. And we're going to dive into a few different theories, and we'll hang out and chat, and I'll get your guys' opinions. Then we'll get going here in just a few. Good to see you, Kelly. Welcome in, Jerry. Kelly says, this case reminds me of Asia Degree and my neck of the woods. So sad. Yeah, this one has more of a, we hear about the drug angle whenever there's drugs involved in one of the missing parents' history. Law enforcement goes directly there. But this one is different. This one, the drug theory seems to hold water. There's a lot of detail, a lot of information. A lot of people that were actually involved and have firsthand knowledge. Rumor is that the day before this happened, her stepfather, LaRon, destroyed his own home to make it appear as if he was raided by local law enforcement. Local law enforcement has come forward saying that there was no raid conducted at that home. Well, at least not on that day. So he kind of ransacked his own home, called his drug connect over and said, hey, look, I had to flush all the stuff. I was getting raided. I'm sorry about that. I had to flush all of the supply. Well, word on the street is they didn't buy that. They didn't buy that at all. That they knew that he was using, and later on he eventually died of a drug overdose. So they believe that that's what caused it. There was even somebody that came forward saying that while he was walking Alexis to school, which is literally up the street, and I'll show you here. Let's pull up this map here so you guys have a better idea of what I'm talking about. And this is Milwaukee here. And the elementary school is called High Mount Elementary, and you can see it is right here. And we're talking literally less than a block away. So there's High Mount, and Alexis lived right up the street here to the right. Word on the street is that her stepfather walked her to this point here and was confronted by these gentlemen, and they took Alexis. This is somewhat of a high profile case. So you've had people who have come forward claiming that their ex-wife is Alexis. Just within the last week or two, a woman has come forward claiming that she herself is Alexis. A lot of strangeness. And her mother, Ayanna Patterson, is still fighting till this day. She's setting up her own little press conferences. She's doing videos. She's doing interviews. So she's still very hopeful. But as far as her knowledge of what the drug connection could be and LaRon Burgess, she may not know. She definitely hasn't come forward. Good to see you, Patricia. Growing crazy. How are you? Digital, how you doing? No, you cannot ask an off-topic question. Unindicted co-conspirator, welcome in. Christine, how are you? Jill Moser, it's good to see you. So she wasn't seen by any of her teachers, any of her classmates. So I think it's safe to assume that she never made it past these gates here. Just looking around, the only thing I can see, there's a Union Hill Missionary Baptist Church. There's a handful of sexual predators or registered sex offenders, more than usual. Kelly says, "Oh my goodness, much love to her mom fighting the good fight." Yeah, she's still fighting till this day. They have age progression photos that they've been working on. She still does interviews um, and sets up press conferences and things like that. Yeah, this case regained more traction. They tried to attach the whole Israel Keys thing. I just don't think that that's likely, but I mean, he was in the area at the time of her disappearance, and he did have his quote unquote kill kit that he would leave in certain areas across the United States and would actually come back 2 to 3 years later, pick up those kits, and commit his crimes. Hey, Kitty Wambalista, how are you doing? How long was he a stepfather to her? Not that it makes any difference. I think for some time he was in her life. And it's hard not to think about the Madeline Soto case, with her stepfather taking her to school and then being the one that's responsible. I mean, they didn't take off in a vehicle. And my understanding is he didn't usually walk her to school. So why was he walking her to school? Was he concerned about the fact that he just ripped off a big time drug dealer in the area? The same person who was his connect? Is that why he was walking her to school? Good to see you, Jill. Kellyo said, did Israel Keys kill kids? No, not that I know of. He had a daughter, and he had this weird duality thing going on, so I don't know if he hurt kids, but I wouldn't put it past him. but he never admitted to that. But I mean, he was a pure psychopath. So I don't see why it would matter to him. So yeah, she lived right down the street over here somewhere. You can't really see her home because it's kind of in the back and there's a tree kind of blocking the view. Hey, Cheeks. Hope you're having a great day. Well, we'll catch you in the replay. Hold it down at work today. Alexis, her beautiful smile. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, Return the Diamonds. How you doing? Good to see all of you. Hope you are enjoying your Tuesday. So the school is right there on the corner of 49th and West Garfield. Um, some other information pertaining to her disappearance was a suspected runaway. Um, apparently, she had a fight with her mother. Nothing serious. I think she did get spanked. She wasn't beaten or anything like that. I believe she may have been smacked in the arm or something along those lines, according to her brother, but nothing too serious. Apparently, she did not finish her homework and she had big plans of bringing these cupcakes to school to share with her classmates. Not sure what the celebration was about, but she had them all prepared, and her mother discovered that she did not finish her homework. So her punishment was that she was not allowed to bring the cupcakes to school. So they thought it was possible that maybe she had skipped school and was just kind of upset about that and ditched. And that she possibly was taken at that time. There seems to be a park nearby, Washington Park. So I don't know if she made her way over here just to kill some time or what, but that's all I know about that theory. And if we know anything about predators, a lot of times they're triggered by things, right? They see a young girl all alone, knowing that she should be in school. Like, okay, she's not in school, so that means she's ditching. There's no adults in sight. Everybody's at work, and then they may begin to follow from a distance. So she could have been taken from this park, or even maybe she had a place that she liked to hide out at. As a kid, I always found all the cool little places to kind of hide from your parents, and where just you and your own close knit group of friends kind of hang out. Kind of maybe like a place like this. We kind of build a clubhouse within these trees or something. So I don't know if that holds any water. We have some serious investigators who believe that this is drug related, and normally law enforcement doesn't lean towards that. They eliminate the family and they eliminate those theories, but here they really seem to be focusing in on that. Hey, Mustang. So if you're just walking in, Alexis went missing on May 3rd, 2002, around 7:40 a.m. Last person to see her was her stepfather, LaRon Burgess. He was walking her to school. Says they made it to school and he turned around and went back home. But her friends, classmates, teachers, nobody's seen her at school. So I think it's safe to say she may have walked through the gate and immediately turned around, or LaRon is lying and she was kidnapped while he was walking her to school. Now, LaRon was a known drug dealer, low level, but also a heavy user. In fact, a few years after her disappearance, he died from a drug overdose. Diamond says, such a cute little girl, already breaking my heart. Damn, all these missing kids. I just feel like there's nothing that we can do. I feel helpless. All we can do is know our enemy, right? See it coming and take personal responsibility. Like, if you have children, don't get involved in the drug game. Don't have a lot of cocaine laying around. Don't be dealing with killers. When it comes to things like that, you're looking at real time. And when people are facing real time for those kinds of charges, they're willing to they become desperate. Mustang, you're not late at all. Hey, growing crazy. No worries. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about it, just let me know. We can go back to back and forth on the information. You don't have to apologize. This is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this happened in the spring of 2002, May 3rd. I mean, they literally have no clues to what happened. Um, the best theory right now is a drug ransom or retaliation. I believe that is Ayana there, her mother, who is still very hopeful. Some photographs outside the school during, I think, a vigil. Here's a street view photograph of High Mount School. She was not seen by any of her classmates or any of her teachers. She was walked to school by her stepfather, LaRon Burgess, who was a convicted drug dealer and somebody who may have had a lot of information on what happened to her. There's a lot of rumors that this was some kind of a ransom, him stealing drugs, making it look like he was raided by law enforcement when in fact he hadn't been. And there's also rumors that people entered his home, pulled out guns on him and Alexis at one point. And somebody recently came forward saying that a high level drug dealer had threatened to hit LaRon where it hurts the most. So that sounds like, your family. How, that would be the worst thing possible, if you ask me. I would prefer that you kidnap me, torture me, kill me, not my family. There's LaRon. Yep, Mustang, she's still missing. She was 7 years old, growing crazy when she went missing at the time. And she was apparently upset that morning. She didn't finish her homework, so she got disciplined for that. And she had plans on bringing cupcakes for her classmates. And her punishment was that she was no longer allowed to bring those cupcakes. That was her punishment for not finishing her homework. So a theory was that once she got walked to school, she maybe had acted like she was going to go into the school onto the school property, and then turned around and left, kind of ditched the school or ran away. But another piece of information is that she normally wasn't walked to school. I mean, it's literally right down the street. If you were her mother, you could stand on the sidewalk and watch her go all the way to the school. But for whatever reason, this man here, LaRon, walked her to school that day. And apparently the day before had ripped off some dangerous people for some drugs. From what I'm hearing, he kind of ransacked his entire home, called over his drug connect and said, "Hey, man, I was raided. I had to dump the stuff." But it's my understanding that he was also a heavy user and a low-level dealer. Hey, Big Bird, how you doing? Yeah, she may have been abducted. Leading investigators believe that she was abducted by um, to be held for ransom until her stepdad paid what he owed. Yep, perfect storm for an abduction. There's just so much chaos, you can't really put your thumb on it. You can't put your finger on what the hell is going on. And her bio father was also arrested for nearly beating an 8-month-old. I think it's either an 8-month-old or an 8-year-old child. I believe it's an 8-month-old, nearly to death a few years after she went missing. So he's in prison for that. Mustang says that's a long time with no answers for the family. Kelly says sounds like abducted for a reason. Growing says my heart goes out to any family with a missing child. I just don't think that I could handle it, guys. I literally think that I would end up suffering from some kind of a mental breakdown. And we've spoken to a lot of family members, that have gone through this, and they do tell us that it's nothing like what you would expect. You hear people say, "Oh, if this happened to me, or if, somebody did that to my family, I would go and kill them. I'd go and do this and that." But it's just not like that in reality. It's more of being tormented. Big Bird says, "Yeah, it sounds like she was mad about the cupcake situation. She turned around and walked right back off campus, and they were watching, and they got her. Sounds like she was abducted." Yeah, she could have been. If somebody sees this little girl walking the streets knowing damn well that she should be at school, that's what triggers these opportunistic killers. You know, go look at the Carly Brusha case. This guy could not resist. He was driving home from work, and this young lady just happened to be walking down the street. And this guy, he just could not help himself. He didn't even take off his uniform or his name tag. He ran up to her and said, "Hey, you need to come with me." I think he showed her something, like either a weapon or a fake badge or something. And then he sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and dumped her body not far. For nothing. Because of an impulse. Big Bird says, so her dad turned around and killed some other child. He almost did. He beat her nearly to death and didn't even care about it. He went to work after. They had to do a quick little investigation to figure out that it was him. So he beat the child, came back and told his mother, like, oh, she fell down. Keep an eye on her. She fell down. I'm going to work. But she was literally beaten within an inch of her life. And we'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. Yeah, Kelly, I just don't. It's terrifying. That's why I do what I do. I'm trying to educate myself. I need to be a better protector. And we take for granted the fact that we walk amongst, the most dangerous predators. The apex predator of this physical realm are these men and women, that suffer from psychopathy, and they blame stressors. Oh, I've been stressed out. The only way I can regain my power is to commit a murder. It's either hurt myself or hurt others. And we know that they're not going to hurt themselves. That's all they care about is themselves. The narcissism won't allow them to hurt themselves. So they may consider it, but that doesn't last long. They then need to go harm others. And even when they do harm others, they actually regain that power and control in their own eyes for a short amount of time. And that's why they take trophies and things like that. So when they feel like they're losing control, they can relive their crimes until that's just not good enough anymore. But in this case, it may be some kind of a drug ransom. Yep, Kelly, these sick fuckers. That's the only way you can describe them. Definitely sick. Growing Crazy says, I could see her ditching school as she was older, but did the family take lie detectors? The mother did. She was cleared. The stepfather did not. He lawyered up, and his lawyer told him not to do it. But investigators still believe that the family knows what happened to her. They haven't cleared them. And everybody that's come forward has been from the prison system, prisoners, inmates. And it's just hard to trust those people because they always want something in return. They want to be transferred closer to their family, or they want less time. They want a deal. So it's hard to trust that information. Yep, he went to work like it was nothing. He told his mother, oh, she fell. Keep an eye on her. But no, he nearly beat her to death. Big Bird says, so was he full of rage from his child being abducted and never found and caused him to hurt another child? No excuses, just saying. No, I think he's just a piece of shit. And it just makes me feel for Alexis even more. It's like she never had a chance, it seems. Kelly, I lived with 46 years of stress. Nothing could make me hurt somebody. No, the only thing that could make you hurt somebody under those circumstances is probably psychopathy. Even though you can feel emotions, it's usually only for yourself, things that you're dealing with as a psychopath. You don't care about other people's emotions. You probably don't even understand them in most cases. Yeah, Big Bird. I think Richard Allen in the Delphi murders case is a clear-cut example of psychopathy that was laying dormant, right? Just like a lot of these family annihilators, that's what Richard Allen reminds me of. These family annihilators, they get a new girlfriend, a new boyfriend, and they think it's okay to kill and poison the rest of their family and start over. They just shed the old family like snake skin. I think that's kind of what was going on with Richard Allen. He was thinking about hurting himself. The narcissism wouldn't allow that, right? I have a better idea. I'll hurt somebody else, and then I'll regain control. And I think in his case, I think for a little while, his life did get better. and he most likely kept trophies, so when he started losing control and things like that, he would just relive the crime. But I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if that's what we're dealing with in Alexis's case. Kelly says, yep, the psychopath just try and mimic feelings and emotions. Yeah, they're referred to a lot as chameleons. They act and do things that they have observed, but they truly don't understand it. They try to cry. Very few psychopaths can really actually shed tears. They'll put their head in their lap. They'll bring their body inward, kind of like the fetal position, and they'll act like they're distressed. But really, they're just doing their best acting of what they think normal people are expecting out of them. So here's the age progression of Alexis. Be interesting to know if they solved any cases with these. And I believe that's Ayanna Patterson and LaRon Burgess. Which is her stepfather. This is a more recent photo of Ayanna. She's still fighting for answers to this day. She did pass a polygraph test, so she probably has no clue and is in denial about a possible LaRon connection. This is her bio father, Alexis's bio father. Not sure who the young lady is. Another photo of Alexis. She looks like she's about 3 years old there, 3 or 4. So we'll go some of the local broadcasting and the local media reporting on the case. That'll serve as an overview for us. I got a couple articles I want to read, and then we'll open it up for discussion. And we'll even touch on all the weird Israel Keys connections and, stuff like that.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Keith Balish. I am a lieutenant here in the Milwaukee Police Department, currently assigned as the commanding officer of the Cold Case Unit. I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon to this very important press conference on the 10-year anniversary on the disappearance of Alexis Patterson. Throughout the room, I've assembled some poster boards, boards which display information and have significant views of different street scenes. I will address some of these poster boards during my little talk, as well as a presentation. And if you have any questions afterwards, we can discuss the poster boards. Also in the near future, the slideshow presentation on the front screen here will be made available to the community and the media through our public relations person, Annie Schwartz. And that slideshow presentation also has photographs and documents that could prove valuable in energizing this investigation and bringing new information to light. What I'd like to do for you at this time is provide a brief overview of the Milwaukee Police Department's investigation into the disappearance of Alexis Patterson. In doing so, I believe it would be appropriate to describe the investigation in 3 phases, somewhat of a timeline. Obviously, the first phase was where we had been, the phase currently where we are now, and the next phase where will we be going in the future. Phase 1 started on Friday, May 3rd, 2002 at about 3:00 p.m. The Milwaukee Police Department received a call reporting a missing 7-year-old girl. The child's mother also contacted, reporting that her daughter failed to return home from school after attending a nearby neighborhood school. Within a relatively short period of time, uniformed officers from District Number 3 and a supervisor were dispatched to investigate. Later that same evening, additional resources were secured from the Sensitive Crimes Division to assist in the investigation. As you all know, missing person investigations, by their nature, present some of the most compelling issues facing law enforcement today. The first few hours are the most critical to the successful recovery of the child, but they can also be the most troublesome and chaotic. Law enforcement agencies have a policy or a procedure along with a pre-planned response for these missing investigations. In addition, the use of every available resource is vitally important. Allocating resources appropriate to the manner to conduct an organized and systematic, thorough investigation is what makes them successful. You also know that there's a number of different categories for missing persons. A few include, but are not limited to, runaways, lost children, stranger abductions, suspicious circumstances, and parent or family abductions. Now, in this particular case, the responding officers made contact with the parents, and they conducted an initial interview of the parents, some witnesses, and also nearby school officials. In addition, the officers made an assessment of the crime scene or a scene that could be included with, which consisted of the missing's residence, the nearby school, and obviously the neighborhood surrounding the missing's residence. Officers further obtained photographs of the child, along with a detailed description, clothing worn, and any personal items that she may have had in her possession at the time she went missing. This information was immediately broadcast to police units throughout the city, as well as given to the media in hopes that it would generate additional tips and leads. The Milwaukee Police Department continued their investigation and commenced an extensive neighborhood canvass. That included door-to-door contacts, searching alleys, checking vacant residents. The search was eventually expanded to include some geographic grid searching. And if you remember, at one point, the Milwaukee Police Department relocated its mobile command post to a permanent location within Washington Park. In the days that followed the report of Alexis Patterson's disappearance, literally hundreds of law enforcement officers, detectives, supervisors from the Milwaukee Police Department, Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, and other metropolitan law enforcement agencies were involved in the search and investigated tips and leads into Alexis's disappearance. The Milwaukee Police Department dedicated resources 24 hours round the clock, and this included uniformed officers from the Patrol Bureau, uniformed officers and detectives from the Sensitive Crimes Divisions, and detectives from the Criminal Investigation Bureau. During the subsequent weeks, the Milwaukee Police Department also requested the services of the local office of the FBI to look into the disappearance of Alexis Patterson. These law enforcement officials included agents from the local Milwaukee office, as well as special agents from the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crimes at FBI headquarters in Quantico, Virginia. In the months and years that followed the initial report of Alexis's disappearance, the Milwaukee Police Department continued to dedicate resources into conducting this investigation. To date, approximately 5,000 interviews were conducted of individuals associated with the case, and these names have subsequently been indexed into the case file. We've reviewed thousands of criminal offense in the Milwaukee Police Department database. We've reviewed thousands of criminal arrest records. We've reviewed field interview databases. We conducted geographical grid searches. We've reviewed Department of Corrections databases for probation and parolee files. We reviewed the registered sexual offender files, and we've conducted and reviewed NCIC offline searches. We've executed search warrants. We've traveled and investigated leads and tips both locally, throughout the state, and actually throughout the United States of America. We've also worked with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the NAMUS organization, the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, to provide valuable information on.
Okay, looks like there is a bit of a delay here. I'm going to reset this real quick, guys, because there's a lot of videos I want to show you here, and I don't want them to be delayed like that. So give me a second. Okay, so hopefully that'll fix that. Let's go to Growing Crazy. Was there any other kids reporting attempted abductions in that area? Is what I'm wondering. Yes, there was a small boy, a young boy around her age. I believe he was abducted, but that's all that I could find.
Breaking news now from Milwaukee. The biological father of a missing girl in Milwaukee now charged with beating an 8-month-old nearly to death. The father of Alexis Patterson is sitting in jail right now for the disturbing allegations.
Cody Holyoke has the criminal complaint in hand, and he joins us now from the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Cody.
Charles Carroll, good afternoon. Kenya Campbell garnered a lot of attention over the last 11 years, the ongoing search for his daughter, Alexis Patterson. Now he is in jail. Jailers are keeping an eye on him after prosecutors maintain he beat a young girl within an inch of her life. Campbell lives with his mother and an 8.5-month-old girl, presumably his daughter. He is legally responsible for her care, according to the complaint. Campbell's mom, the girl's grandmother, told police Kenya ran in one morning and said the baby fell and split her lip. According to doctors, the injuries were much more severe. The girl had a broken jaw and rib, a broken neck, lacerated liver, even bruises throughout her body. Doctors were amazed the girl survived and believe the injuries are from what they believe is a violent, massive assault. Now, no word today on the baby's condition. It should be noted that Kenya Campbell, according to prosecutors, went to work after telling his mother that the baby had fallen. Now he's behind bars where he could spend the rest of his life if he's convicted. The man faces a bevy of child abuse charges.
Can you believe that? Especially from somebody whose daughter is missing, you think that he would take special care of a little baby. Makes you wonder if he was involved in somehow, in some way. Here's some information on the stepfather who investigators think may know more about what happened to Alexis.
Yeah, Joyce, we've been working for several hours to get this information confirmed since early this afternoon. That confirmation coming just within the last 45 minutes from the medical examiner's office. Lerone Bourgeois found dead today. According to Milwaukee police, Bourgeois was one of 2 people found dead inside a home near 50th and Clark this afternoon. Officials have not identified the woman who was also found dead with Bourgeois. He was the last person, as you mentioned, to see his stepdaughter at the time, Alexis Patterson, before she vanished. That That was back in May 2002. Bourgeois walked the 7-year-old girl to school and left her at the playground. She has not been seen since. It has been almost 19 years since her disappearance. To this date, no one has ever been charged in connection to that disappearance. As for Bourgeois' death, the medical examiner says it's being investigated as a possible drug overdose, but an official autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow. Joyce.
Longtime Milwaukeeans remember this story. Or Derek, have we heard from Alexis Patterson's mother tonight?
We have only heard from her indirectly, and by that I mean a local activist whom I spoke to tonight tells me he spoke to Ayanna Patterson by phone, but I have not made contact with her directly at this point. But according to this local activist, he says that the woman found dead in that home has no connection to Alexis Patterson or her family. Joyce.
Man, what a crazy story this is. I just feel like she didn't have a chance. And here's some stuff on the potential possible runaway scenario. The theory stemmed from an argument she had with her mother the morning she disappeared. The previous day, Patterson had taken Alexis to the store where she picked out some cupcakes to share with her classmates. In the morning, Patterson realized Alexis hadn't finished her homework, so she wouldn't let her bring the treats. Despite investigators' belief that Alexis was so angry she skipped school, Milwaukee police acted with extreme urgency, said Chief Jeffrey Norman, who was a detective back then. Let's look at the Israel Keys angle.
I was walking into a gas station, and when I saw her picture,
Hey, CJ.
I just looked. I'm like, it can't be my Alexis.
I instantly lost it. Like, I instantly lost it.
A 7-year-old girl just does not disappear.
Hey,
There's
Angela.
really no explanation for it. And I think everybody right away feared the worst.
That's a cold case
There
investigator.
were so many people walking in groups, looking everywhere, walking down alleys, walking down the street. There were some people who said that they saw, like a week before Alexis was taken, that there was this red truck that tried to take a young kid from a playground.
He did have a red truck. We recently found out that he did have a kill kit in Wisconsin. The purpose of the kill kit was to have everything he would need to abduct, rape, murder, bury someone.
If the truth, be told, the truth will set you free. But in that case, the truth would be crushing to this woman.
Thank you, Mustang. And I might have an article that goes into this a little bit further. Let's take a look at that. I don't think that Israel Keys was connected to this, but I mean, you never know. He is a pure psychopath, so he's only going to tell law enforcement what he wants to tell. And after having a daughter of his own, he may not want to talk about any of the cases that involve children, because that's all he cared about was upsetting his daughter. And he was planning to tell investigators everything about this, 11 murders that he had committed. But all these 11 murders seem to be part of some kind of message he was leaving, or a covenant, even with, a covenant in blood with the devil. And we get that from what was left behind after he took his own life in prison. So, I mean, it's possible. I just don't think so. Okay, what is Keyes' connection to Alexis Patterson? After Keyes was arrested, the FBI took his laptop and his girlfriend's computer and examined the devices. They found Keyes had been looking up missing people. He used the online database called the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, otherwise known as NamUs. One of the search results was for Alexis Patterson. So that's very interesting. Josh Hallmark, creator and host of the podcast True Crime BS, was the first to report on the search results. The title of his podcast comes from a statement Keyes made to the FBI that he didn't want the case to get a lot of media attention. Did Keyes have other links to Alexis Patterson? Hallmark says Keyes did have a kill kit in Wisconsin. The serial killer also had a red truck, which was reported in the area. In Milwaukee, some witnesses reportedly said a red truck was spotted near High Mount School in the weeks before Alexis disappeared, and that a person inside the truck tried to take a child from the playground. Could Keyes have abducted Alexis Patterson? Hallmark, an expert on Keyes, does not think so. For one, Keyes stayed away from major cities, and Keyes had told the FBI after he had his own daughter he could not target children anymore. At the time Alexis disappeared, Keyes' daughter was about a year old. The truck Keyes owned was a vintage model, and all evidence points to him not using the truck in 2002, according to Hallmark. I just don't see him going in broad daylight to a school in a major city to abduct a child. That's what Hallmark says. I think it's possible, but I just don't think there's any real evidence to that. Okay, let's read this article here. It's titled, I Have New Evidence in the Alexis Patterson Disappearance. And I'll put this one up on the screen for you. Okay, and this is from a website called prisonwriters.com. This is by Justin Welch. That must be him there. Let's zoom this in for you guys a little bit. Okay, he says, I never heard of Alexis Patterson until I had a conversation with an inmate over the summer of 2021 about her. I've since learned through friends on the outside who've Googled her name that Alexis Patterson was a 7-year-old girl who went missing in 2002 after her stepdad dropped her off at school. Here's what I know. About 6 months ago, an inmate here in Columbia Correctional Institute was working with me in the unit kitchen. He told me he was from California, just like me. We were cool at first, and shit was going well. I told him all about who I was in my past as a hitman and about my escape. So he liked all that crap about who I was. I told him I really wanted out of the state of Wisconsin DOC. I told him the prison has been lying to me, telling me I will be transferred after COVID is over, and I even showed him some emails to prove what I was saying is true. After he seen the emails, he understood how bad I wanted out of this state. He offered me a way out. This is what he told me. He said he knows about a high-profile case in the state of Wisconsin out of Milwaukee. So I listened to him. He asked me if I could say I was in the state of Wisconsin in 2002 or 2003. I said, yes, not a problem. He told me the person's name, Alexis Patterson, and how it is such a high-profile case, and the DA would do anything if I took the body. See, I already have a life sentence, so it wouldn't make a difference if I got one more life sentence, because what's the difference between 1 or 10 life sentences in prison, right? So I started asking him questions about the murder, because I admit I was a little interested at first. I really wanted to go back to California, where I was in prison before, because that's where my family lives. So I was asked how old she was, and he said she was young. I said, what, under 18? He said, yes. Now, even for us guys in prison, we have rules when it comes to killing people. As sick as that sounds, you don't hurt or kill children. In prison, that's a big no-no. Then I asked him if she was under the age of 12. He waited for a minute to answer. With an unsure look on his face of how I will take it, he said yes, she is under 12 years old. Right then, red flags went off in my mind, and I told him I can't take the case because I would get killed in whatever state I ended up in. Then he tried to convince me that I would be okay, and I knew then that this guy was a sicko. I asked him why she was killed. He gave me the dumbest reason a sex offender could come up with. He told me it was over some gang stuff. I then asked him, was there any sexual stuff going on with this murder? He waited a second to answer the question and said yes. At that time, I was thinking like, you sick motherfucker. I then told him again, I can't have nothing to do with this case, but he still went on telling how high profile this case is. So I would be a for sure transfer out of this state. I could never look at him the same way after that. He made me sick. Some time went by. He ended up getting fired from the kitchen job. So I decided to talk with the administration here at the prison about the case. After talking with someone in prison administration, they contacted the Milwaukee Police Department and pushed them to come talk to me about this case. Administration officials pushed hard for justice for the family of Alexis Patterson. But the Milwaukee Police Department didn't seem to care. So at that time, I reached out to even more to friends. I had 2 friends contact the Milwaukee Police Department and push them to come talk to me about the murder of Alexis Patterson. The Milwaukee Police Department still didn't come. Then one of my friends took it right to some of the family of Alexis Patterson, and still no luck yet. And we are going over 6 months with this stuff. Why is it so hard when somebody wants to help that the cops just don't care? I just don't get it. I'm not the man I used to be. I'm a kind man that now wants to help people. I have done so many wrongs in my past, and I must try to make up for that somehow, some way. If I can give Alexis Patterson's mother some peace and closure with her daughter, then why won't the Milwaukee Police Department do their job? The administration here in the prison has told the Milwaukee Police Department that I'm requesting a lie detector to prove I'm telling the truth. I fucking hate the system because it only works if it's what they want. Justice, what a joke. I hope this lights a fire under the Milwaukee Police Department's ass to do their job. And that's Justin Welch, number 005-79750, Waupun Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. But the truth is, investigators already knew about this gang and drug stuff. You know, they need something more. They most likely needed something solid. And we can look into that right now. It's good to see you, Mustang and CJK. Welcome in. Yeah, they all make my stomach hurt. From USA Today, police records tell 2 stories about the fate of Alexis Patterson. This is one account. When something bad happens to a drug dealer's loved ones, investigators look for a connection. They have a good reason. The sale of illegal drugs goes hand in hand with violent crime. Alexis Patterson's stepfather, LaRon, I say Burgess, but that's not how you say it. Bourgeois, I think is how you say it. LaRon Bourgeois was a low-level drug dealer who had repeatedly ripped off other dealers in the 3 years before Alexis vanished in 2002. According to newly released police records, he had also been robbed by his rivals. Authorities have long theorized that her disappearance was related to his criminal activity. Someone owed a debt, perhaps a drug debt, and they used Alexis as a pawn to try to collect that, speculated Mark Williams, the prosecutor assigned to the case. And they snatched her, and no one knows really what happened after that. According to police reports, Alexis's mother, Ayanna Patterson, told detectives she and Bourgeois had been robbed twice. The first time was several years before Alexis went missing. The man Patterson believed to be responsible had been planning to rob someone else, she said. But Bourgeois tipped off the intended victim as a result. Bourgeois was targeted instead. The second robbery Patterson disclosed occurred around 1999. A man pulled a gun on her, led her into the house, and held her there until Bourgeois got home, she said. The gunman demanded drugs and money. Patterson said that she didn't know if Bourgeois had given him anything because she left the room when her husband arrived. Two of Patterson's relatives also provided police with information about drug-related robberies. Their stories didn't quite match Patterson's. One relative said that in approximately June of 2000, about 2 years before Alexis disappeared, Patterson set the burglar alarm and left the house. Almost as soon as she got outside, it went off. So she went back in to see why. There she found two men with guns. They told her she needed to get a hold of little Ron right away. The relative said, using Bourgeois' nickname, Patterson did. When he got home, the men took 1,700 and a half an ounce of cocaine from him. Another relative told a similar story, but in this version, both Patterson and Alexis were tied up by armed men in the home about a mile from their own. The dope dealers held a gun to Ayanna's head while they held her hostage. The relative told police. The men let Patterson and Alexis go after Bourgeois returned property he had stolen from them. In a recent interview, Patterson said she recalled only the 1999 robbery, adding that Alexis was at school when it occurred. According to an anonymous tipster, it wasn't unheard of for the dealers in Bourgeois' circle to resort to kidnapping. The year before Alexis went missing, the tipster claimed that Bourgeois and 3 other men abducted a 17-year-old from La Crosse, a Wisconsin city near Minnesota border, the Minnesota border. They received $50,000 and 15 grams of heroin in exchange for the teen's safe return. What happened at the time of Alexis's disappearance? About a month before Alexis disappeared, Bourgeois' drug supplier fronted him 9 ounces of cocaine, valued at about $7,000. One of the supplier's close associates told police. Bourgeois paid $1,900 and promised to make the supplier whole after he sold the drugs, the associate said. Not long after, Bourgeois called the supplier early in the morning saying the cops had raided his house and he had to flush the drugs. But the house didn't have great plumbing, and the supplier doubted the toilet could have handled such a large quantity of drugs. Certain that Bourgeois had lied and ripped him off, the supplier later asked his associate, "Can I shoot him?" On May 1st, 2002, 2 days before Alexis was seen, a group of men with guns confronted Bourgeois in his home. A neighbor told police. One of them shouted, "I'm going to kill all of you." Bourgeois pleaded with him, "Take this money." The argument spilled outside, and the neighbor said she heard the man threaten revenge, shouting that he was tired of Bourgeois and Patterson setting people up. Then he yelled, "I'm going to get you where it hurts." After that, he and the others loaded into 2 trucks and sped off. The neighbor described the man shouting as black, with a light complexion, in his late 20s, about 6'2" or 6'3", and weighing between 180 and 190 pounds. He wore his hair in 4 long braids. The police reports do not contain a description of Bourgeois' drug supplier, and it is unclear whether he was among the group the neighbor saw threatening Bourgeois. A jailhouse informant later told police the supplier was one of those men. Shortly after Bourgeois got home from walking Alexis to the corner on the day she was last seen, the supplier stopped by. The man told police his wife and kids waited in the car while he and Bourgeois talked. He left after a few minutes. Another man who was not interviewed by police until 9 years later recalled Bourgeois calling him that afternoon, saying, "They took my baby," Bourgeois reportedly said. Later, the friend went to the house where Bourgeois offered to sell him 2 bricks of cocaine for cheap. The friend told police he declined, and he remembered thinking it was odd that Bourgeois, a small-time dealer, would have such a large stash on him. Questioned by police 2 months after Alexis's disappearance, the supplier denied involvement and said he did not have a beef with Bourgeois. He would never mess with anyone's child due to the fact that he has 2 daughters of his own, and his daughters actually used to play with Alexis, the police report says. What police learned in the months and years after Alexis went missing, in the months following Alexis's disappearance, 5 people told police the drug supplier had abducted Alexis because Bourgeois stole from him. All of them were in jail or prison at the time, and most were trying to get out of their own legal trouble in exchange for providing information. 3 of the men said they had spoken with the supplier directly. One jailhouse informant said Bourgeois had ripped off not only the supplier, but the kingpin above him, and Bourgeois owed the 2 of them $80,000. They took Alexis down south, the informant said, where she was being held by one of the supplier's sisters. Another inmate claimed the supplier said he was fine with going to prison for drugs, but he wasn't going to take the AP case, meaning Alexis Patterson. The inmate said the supplier and his close associate drove up on Burgess as he walked Alexis to school on the morning of May 3rd, 2002. When Bourgeois saw them coming, he ran, leaving her alone. The associate grabbed Alexis and they drove away. A third man said the supplier told him Alexis might be in a better place than she was at home. Asked if he would snatch a girl, the supplier reportedly said, "That's the game." A fourth tipster, who gave a statement with the attorney present and said he would be willing to testify, he asked the supplier if he had shot Alexis. He responded by taking both of his hands and making a twisting motion, as if he strangled or broke someone's neck. The police report says when the tipster asked where Alexis was, the supplier became very evasive and would only say something about a construction site. 10 years after Alexis went missing, another inmate told a cold case detective LaRon should have paid the drug debt. The inmate's story was similar to those of earlier informants, but it was far more specific. He said he'd heard from a fellow prisoner whose name was blacked out in the police report provided to USA Today and the Milwaukee Journey Sentinel. The inmate blamed Alexis's disappearance on a high-level drug dealer whose name also was blacked out. As a result of those omissions, it is impossible to tell whether the inmate implicated the same person as the other informants. According to the inmate, the dealer and the associate drove up to Bourgeois as he was walking Alexis to the corner. Bourgeois took off, so the men in the car snatched her up. They told Bourgeois he had 5 days to pay what he owed. When he hadn't paid, by the 7th day, Alexis's kidnappers strangled her. A couple of days later, they wrapped her body in a black industrial-sized garbage bags and buried her near Milwaukee Vincent High School past some bushes. I think I have that marked on a map here. It's about 8 miles from where she went missing. So there's Vincent High School. And I think her school is over here somewhere. It's not far, that's for sure. So 8.4 miles away. Now, according to reports, they took her down a hill and dumped her near a small creek. And there is a small creek right here by the school. So there's Vincent High School, and there's the creek right there. So I hope they looked all through here. Yeah, Angela, it's like she didn't even have a chance. Her biological father's in prison, I think, for life for beating an 8-month-old nearly to death. Her stepfather, who was a drug dealer and somebody who may have been responsible for kidnapping a woman, died of a drug overdose. I mean, the odds were against this young lady from the beginning. Hey, Hiawatha, good to see you. Says, hello, Sleuth and crew, just lurking today, but this case makes me want to puke. It's good to see you. Georgie girl, according to a police report, her grandmother blames the mother. They used to live near High Mount School, nowhere near Vincent. Well, I mean, Vincent is only 8 miles away. So, I mean, I don't see a hill unless they kind of took this dirt road right here. But I definitely think it'd be worth taking a closer look. See, there's like a dirt road that goes back here. See it? The Oak Leaf Trail. So I don't know if you could get back there or not. But it looks like this is somewhat of a hill. And if they dumped her back here, she would still be there. I just hope they search this area pretty good. The informant told police that when he questioned the story, the other prisoner replied, "She's there. She's there. I was there." It is unclear from the police report whether the police questioned the other prisoner or searched for Alexis's body near the high school. I mean, I hope they did. Putting the pieces together. Under this story, here's what police believe might have happened. The Monday before Alexis disappeared, Bourgeois supplier gave him some cocaine. Bourgeois paid up front for only a portion of the drugs, promising to turn over more money once he sold them. On Tuesday, Bourgeois trashed his house to make it look like the police had searched it. He called the supplier early in the morning, claiming he'd flushed the drugs to avoid being caught with them. The supplier doubted the house's plumbing could handle the quantity of drugs and became suspicious. On Wednesday night, the supplier and his associate confronted Bourgeois. The supplier yelled at Bourgeois and threatened revenge. On Friday morning, the supplier or his associate snatched Alexis, either for ransom or as collateral to force Bourgeois to pay the debt. They either killed her when he didn't pay, or she died accidentally before they had a chance to bring her home. Okay, now let's listen. Here's an unrelated report, but this is the lead detective that believes that that's exactly what happened. Now, this story has nothing to do with Alexis' disappearance, but this just kind of gives you a little bit of background into this investigator.
Running out of time to charge the person of interest in the severed limb and body parts investigation.
Otherwise, he may be able to walk out of jail. Fox 6's Bria Jones spoke with a retired homicide detective who says the next 48 hours are critical.
That's right, Steph. There are so many unanswered questions about these cases. Now, this retired MPD lieutenant detective, he says that it will come down to DNA, phone records, and surveillance video. That will all be crucial in this investigation. Mystery in Milwaukee as law enforcement investigates the unsettling discoveries of body parts and human remains.
You can see what law enforcement is doing. They're trying to put this together. It's a big jigsaw puzzle.
Stephen Spangola is a retired Milwaukee police
Spangola.
lieutenant detective. Like many, the series of gruesome findings caught his attention.
It's very unusual that you're going to have somebody dismember a body.
Since April 2nd, 2 body parts and human remains have been located in Milwaukee County. The first, a severed leg, the sheriff's office says was found at Warnemont Park in Cudahy. 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson was taken into custody as a person of interest. In court Tuesday, prosecutors were granted more time to make a charging decision. The time clock is running down on the 72-hour hold.
It is.
What happens next?
They can either A, go back and ask for another 72 hours, or B, charge them with something in between and ask for bail while they continue to work on this case.
While the cases have not been connected, the family of missing 19-year-old Sade Robinson told Fox 6 they were invited to the hearing, which is a telling sign for Spangola.
How does she come in contact with Mr. Anderson? Where do their paths cross here? That's going to be the interesting thing.
With prosecutors wanting more time to review blood evidence results, Spangola says DNA evidence could make or break the case.
But I guarantee you they are going over with a meticulous fine comb. His car, his house, his clothes, his body. Do they have any injuries from a struggle on it?
So, Stephen Spangola believes that she was abducted because of what was going on with Laurent Bourgeois, and that it was drug related. Now, there's been a few strange cases of people claiming to be Alexis. We have an Ohio man who claimed his ex-wife could be Alexis. And then I think there's an even more recent one, but I'll show you the two that I have, and I'll see if I can find the one from just a week ago. She
In
actually
Milwaukee,
looks like
the
her.
search for Alexis Patterson continues. DNA testing confirms an Ohio woman is not the missing Milwaukee girl. Alexis Patterson has been missing for more than a decade. Good evening. I'm Charles Benson.
And I'm Shannon Sims. Her former neighbors say this latest lead in the case gave them new hope, a hope they tell Pete Servakis they will not give up even with the news today.
He joins us now live from Alexis Patterson's former neighborhood. Pete?
Charles, Alexis Patterson's former neighbors say the mood here tonight is sadness, but they still hope to one day see her reunited with her family.
I was hoping and praying that she was a match.
Sandra Jackson says that's been the case since late last week when police said they would take a DNA sample from a woman now living in Ohio to see if she is really Alexis Patterson. With Patterson's family in mind,
I don't know what I would do if my child was missing.
Jackson and others on the block where little Alexis Patterson once lived waited for the results. This morning, police said there is no match.
That's really sad.
The man who led investigators to the woman in Ohio, her ex-husband, says this isn't the end.
Once I thought that she was Alexis, my intention was to prove that she was, but I guess we're not there yet.
So there has to be more heartbreak that this is not Alexis.
No question that is true. State Senator Lena Taylor has grown close with Patterson's mother since her daughter disappeared 14 years ago. She was walking roughly 1 block to school near 49th and Garfield.
There are still questions, I think, that have to be answered for that woman, frankly.
Neighbors tonight, like Jackson, say one setback won't stop them from praying for closure.
All we could do is keep praying and hoping that they do find her well and safe.
As for where police go next, in a short statement tonight, Milwaukee police say our investigation into Patterson's disappearance continues. Live at 49th and...
Okay, let me see if I can find that most recent case and see what you guys think about this. I mean, she looks just like her. And it was all over Facebook just a week ago. Or not Facebook, but YouTube. Hopefully I can find it. Let me filter it out. Oh, there it is.
But I remember these other houses.
That's her.
You could tell they tore the house down. Even though these people still got their fence out, you could tell there was a house there.
Let me pull up a photograph. Now, just look closely at this scar right here on the left eye. Yeah, I agree. She does. Hey, Cooper. Good to see you. Oops. Maybe I can keep this up here while I play this.
It's like 2218, I ain't here no more. Hi, baby.
You can kind of see what looks to be a scar over her left eye. See that? So I don't know. It's titled Woman Claiming to be Alexis Patterson. And this was released like 2 weeks ago.
He said my sister might like I don't know if that stuff was real when they said if you like see demon faces, it ain't real. Listen, I know when I'm talking to a witch, a warlock, a wizard. It's like that man called his dog a wizard. Maybe that dog ain't no wizard. That dog.
She definitely seems a little bit out of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not her. Same type of scar, same eye. I mean, she looks just like her. That's crazy. But guys, that is all the time we have for today. If you want to email me about any of the cases that we cover on True Crime in the Morning, you can get a hold of me at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And if you are part of the replay crew, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about all the information provided in today's live stream. And in about an hour and a half, we will be live again to discuss the Delphi murders. So I'll see you guys in about an hour and a half. And thank you all who participated in the live chat. If you could hit the like button on the way out, share the live stream if you could. And I'll see you guys again real soon. And make sure you say a prayer for Alexis Patterson and her family, and for answers at the very least. Take care of yourselves and watch out for you and yours. Bye.